Hi, my name is Isaiah Toledo, and our group will be talking about the Andean America. The Andean America is located along the entire western coast of South America. The Andes mountain range is approximately 4,500 miles long. The Andes are the world's highest mountain range outside of Asia. The average height of the Andes mountains is approximately 13,000 feet. The highest elevation in the Andes is Mount Aconcagua in Argentina, which is around 22,838 feet above sea level. It is the highest mountain outside of Asia. A fun fact about this area is that potatoes and tomatoes, two of the most widespread crops on our planet, originated from the Andes. Over 3,800 different types of potatoes are grown in Peru alone. Here are some of the nations and major capitals. Colombia, with its capital being Bogota. Venezuela, with its capital being Caracas. Ecuador, with its capital being Quito. Peru, with its capital being Lima. Bolivia, with its capital being Sucre. Argentina, with its capital being Buenos Aires. Chile, with its capital being Santiago. Bogota is located in central Colombia on the high plateau of Bogota, the third highest capital city in South America. Caracas has the highest murder rates in the world outside of a war zone, with over 120 murders per 120,000 people. Quito is the second highest capital in South America and the most populated in its country, with about 1.9 million people. It's also closest to the equator. Here are some of its major landforms. The Amazon basin is the largest rainforest in the world, with about 100 inches of rain each year and more than 1,000 tributaries. The Atacama Desert is small and about 100 miles wide and 625 miles long. The landscape is dry and covered with the Borax Lake. The Patagonia is known for its arid steppes, grassland, and deserts. Arid meaning little or no rain, and steppes meaning a plain grassland with no trees. Here are some of its lakes. Lake Titicaca is on the border of Peru and Bolivia. It's the largest lake in Andean and has an area of over 3,200 miles. Poopó Lake takes up around 1,200 miles by its area. Nahuel Huapai is known for its crystal clear blue water and takes up around 200 miles by its area.
When it comes to the Andes region, we're talking about 7 populations that all together make up this region, with those 7 populations being Argentina, Bolivia, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Chile, and Venezuela. Altogether bring a total of 85 million people in the Andes region. And as you can see, we included 2 pictures where you can see this region's culture and extent of their population. In this region, there is a total of 7 locations that form the complete Andes region. With Colombia being the most populated, they start with a total of 49.65 million. The second one would be Argentina with a total of 44.4 million. Peru is the third with a total of 31.99 million. Venezuela coming in fourth with a total of 28.87 million. Chile in fifth with 18.73 million. Ecuador being sixth with a total of 18.70 million. And lastly, Bolivia with 11.35 million. Now, in the major cities, there are only 4. The first one being Bogota with 8 million. Second being Santiago with 5.6 million. Third being Medellin with 2.4 million. And lastly, fourth being Cali with 2.2 million. The Andean civilization had first begun in the 10th century, with the first civilization in South America being the Chavin culture. Before the 200s BC, there was the Chavin culture, known for being the first to be discovered and having sophisticated pyramids. Mochica and Nazca, 200 BC through AD to 600 BC, is known for the brilliantly realistic pottery sculptures of human heads that were not only sculptures, but they were also used for jugs. Moreover, Mochica and Nazca were also known for the pyramid that was constructed from unfired bricks and that also dried in the sun. Tiwanaku and Wari, 400 through 1000 BC, is known for the rivalry of an empire by dominating larger areas, but also by the vast human figures and carved from blocks of stone. Sikat and Chimu, 800 through 1470 BC, is known for their culture of Skan and their several monumental pyramids and their golden tombs. But in the Inca religion, their main practices were focused on the oral traditions that were meant to pass down the mythology of their sun god Inti. The sun god first began with the belief that Inca was the ancestor of the Incas region. They also believed that Inti was the head of the state cult, where he was imposed to worship through the Inca Empire. The Incas believed the gods had to be kept happy through their worship. In order to keep their gods happy, they would practice sacrifices of llamas, dogs, and human sacrifices. Although human sacrifices were very rare and is not followed to this day. In addition, as dogs were being used as sacrifice, the way they would utilize them would be by regarding them as divine incarnations and were slain and in parts to their flesh solemnly eaten by their worshippers. Moreover, they held many religious festivals throughout the year which were fun, and it brought everyone together by the involvement of music, food, and lastly, dancing. If you ever wondered how the sun god appeared to them, was by being a human figure with a symbol of its gold disc with rays and flames, which formed around the disc, which built the name of the sun god. And as you can see, I could provided a picture of the human figure of the sun so you can have an idea of what the Inca religion would worship. According to the international expeditions, they stated, quote, "Most of these traditions are always kept alive in rural areas that are strongly associated with the Incas, such as the Sacred Valley." Quote, "Now, unfortunately, our understanding of the Incas remain incomplete because they have no written alphabet, but they were a major asset to their empire. It is known that they ruled over more than 12 million people in their empire, which also made it to be very influential and now a historic event."
Hello, I'll be talking a little bit about the Andean cultures. There are a variety of different cultures or tribes of people that make up the Andean culture. Originally in the Andes mountainous region, it was actually tough for some people to get around. There were wheels, but they weren't really of use in the mountains, and they didn't really have horses. They had alpaca and llamas that could carry only about 100 pounds of weight, so they wouldn't carry people, so everything had to be walking distance. All these tribes got incorporated into the Inca when they took over, and then Spain now is the main influence or change of modernization through invading after that. However, a lot of the population is still indigenous people of the area. For example, in Peru, they're 45% Amerindian, Bolivia 55% Amerindian, Ecuador 25% Amerindian, and a lot of other places as well. So this high amount of Amerindian natives mixed with Spanish influences causes a cultural and political blending or division in some cases. So textiles and weaving have always been a focus, and it's still shown today in Peru throughout with bright colors. They use the weaving for different types of things, to make their clothing, to actually make cheese molds and different types of things that they needed. There are many big flashy festivals that take place today honoring culture. There's usually at least one a month, and some honoring culture untouched by Catholicism, and some that celebrate their blend of Andean and Spanish culture. So there's some that honor the sun god and things of that nature from before, and then there are also some that incorporate the Spanish culture. The different types of music and dancing that were introduced in the big flashy costumes that were introduced then. There's a lot of different types of dances, from the old tribe dances to the salsa type dances that were introduced. The favorite sport or more current culture in the Andean areas is football or soccer, especially in Chile, where they were one of the first 13 teams to play in the FIFA World Cup. And the second oldest South American federation set up is the Federación de Football in Chile in 1895. The political structure: most of the government in this region is in the form of a representative democratic republic. A president is elected who is the head of the state, head of the government, and the leader of the multi-party system. Legislative power is held by government and its Congress or Parliament. Judiciary power is independent of both. And some of the areas, including Colombia, are considered a flawed democracy, and others, such as Peru, have been rated a step up to a full democracy. So the economic organization or level of development and economic issues. So the people were living off the land. They started with subsistence farming and then mainly exporting. So agriculture, a lot of the agricultural exports were seafood such as shrimp, bananas, cut flowers, grapes, coffees, and textiles. They also used to do coca, which actually got Bolivia in a lot of trouble, and we put a ban on that types of things coming into the U.S. and other places put a ban on it as well. Then minerals such as petroleum and copper the most, but also silver, ink, and tin. This created issues as workers were mainly Amerindians that were seen to be forced to work in these mines in really harsh conditions without the pay. So currently there is a big push into oil, energy, and tech industry. They have found more petroleum and other resources. New presidents are pressuring the energy industry as never before, and technology is booming in the more developed areas, starting to be compared to our own Silicon Valley. So there's still a huge divide in wealth between the rich and the poor. There's some areas to where they're really living off the land and other areas that are booming a little bit more city-like. So the Andean regions are littered with clashing governments. The regions have been at war or fighting over land and resources, especially with Bolivia and Chile, who have been fought with pretty much all the neighboring countries. Bolivia actually lost their access to the Pacific Ocean when they had a war with Chile, and a lot of the Bolivian territory was taken over by other countries such as Brazil and Chile. The Andean regions are also littered with clashing people. There is a sharp divide between the Amerindian people, who are still the majority in a lot of places, and the European Mestizo community, some based on mistreatment of the indigenous people. Below shows a gathering held only a day apart in Bolivia, showing a stark contrast on thoughts on autonomy and thinking that will actually break their country. So the Spanish modernized it, and even though they modernized a lot of the Amerindian people, there's still different thoughts that they have in the way that their country should be ran. And then there's also the indigenous people that are still living off the mountain, living off of the land. So there's a lot of different division between the people.